This video is sponsored by PCB Waste. Stick around to find out how they can be your one-stop shop for custom PCB fabrication and professional 3D printing.
What's going on, guys? It's the Print House, and today I have another dryer video. This one has been long awaited, maybe not by you, but by me, because I've had the Easy Dry and the SHO2 in studio for a long time, but the E2, I wanted to wait for that one because this is the star of the show. Wow. And guys, I promise you definitely want to stick around for this. It's $350 US, but even if you cannot afford it in your current budget, this is something that you definitely want to stick around to see. And it's been a long day, so cheers. Oh no, we're fizzing over. See, it is 9 p.m. and the goal here is to finish the video before I finish the beer, and I want to finish the beer, so let's get to it. Okay, so before we get too deep into the video, first I want to give you what my predictions were for all of these boxes. The SHO2 I expected to be a pretty cheap box, run-of-the-mill, nothing that anyone specifically wants to buy, they just buy it if the price is right. And maybe they need 2 spools. The Easy Dry, I expected it to be similar to the EIBOS Polyphemus, which is a expensive, very high quality, wonderful all-around dry box. And of course the E2 at $350 US, I kind of thought this was gonna be, it wasn't gonna live up to its hype, and I didn't think it was gonna be worth it, or maybe not even live up to the specs that Sunlu actually mentions. So we are gonna start out with the SHO2, as I'm sure you expected. So the SHO2 has a max set temp of 70 degrees Celsius, and that's gonna get you most of the way to drying all of your run-of-the-mill consumer-grade filaments. And with that, it has 9 preset profiles to make your life very easy. And having 9 preset profiles is not something that most dryer boxes have, so 9's pretty good. So with those 9 preset profiles, you have all of your standard profiles that you would expect. You've got PLA, PETG, ABS, nylon, polycarbonate, polypropylene, TPU, and then there was one unknown filament. I don't know what it was. I couldn't understand what its signifier was on the screen, so there's an unknown one there as well. And what's interesting to me is typically polycarbonate needs between 80 and 110 degrees Celsius in order to dry it, and with a max set temp of 70 degrees, if it could even hit 70, you can't really dry it at what it's supposed to be dried at, so that's kind of an enigma as to why that is a preset, but maybe you can get part of the way there, or maybe you can put it in at 70 and leave it in for a long time. I'm not a scientist and I don't know how that works. One thing that I find interesting about the SHO2 is that when you're changing the temperatures, you only have a degree difference of 5 in order to go from one temperature to the next, whereas most standard dryers will let you toggle between a single 1 degree increment. That's probably not going to matter very much because typically drying profiles are set at 5 degree increments. However, for my brain, that kind of bothers me, so I figured I would mention it. And where you can only increment your dry temperatures by 5 degree increments, one thing that might actually matter is the increment of the time. With the SHO2, you can only increment your dry times by 2 hours at once. If you're drying your filaments at an appropriate temperature, you really shouldn't be melting them. However, I don't really understand why you can't increment it by, say, 30 minutes. So the user interface on the SHO2 is very, very good. It absolutely takes after Sunlu and the Sunlu screen that debuted with the S2 dryer. The Sunlu S2 user interface was so good they carried it over to the S4, and as you'll see in this video, it is still so good that they carried it over to the E2. One thing that I do actually like about this SOVOL dryer more so than the other ones is that there's no confusing acronyms. A lot of screens and user interfaces will use acronyms like SV or PV, RH, these kinds of things. And when I'm on the move, I don't want to look at an acronym and just remember, wait a minute, what was SV? Oh, that was set value, or what was PV? So having no acronyms on the screen is really, really good.
Approved.
Lastly, one thing that I really appreciate is the screen is very bright and very responsive, and that is not something we get from all dryers. I don't want to name any names, but if you look at this video or this video, you'll know what I'm talking about. This dryer is also very quiet. I measured it at roughly 46 dB, and to me, that is well within working levels. I think anything under the 47 or 48 dB mark means you can sit in the room as it's drying and not be distracted at all. In terms of build quality, this is definitely one of the better built dryers out of anything that I've reviewed on the channel. It's got a very wide base, it's not gonna tip over, and it has a really nice latching mechanism on the front. The whole body, including the lid, is made of thick plastic that I don't think is gonna break if the unit happened to fall on the ground. And back to the front latching lid, I really wanna hit this home. It is very good. This is one of the best latching mechanisms of any 3D printer dryer that I've ever used. It's very tactile, and when you close it and latch it, you feel it, and it just feels good. In terms of the actual contents of the dryer, you can fit 2 1-kilogram spools of filament. You can also fit a single 3-kilogram spool. If you put a 3-kilogram spool in here, I don't think you're gonna be able to print very well due to the locations of the holes. However, if you're putting 1-kilogram spools, you can print from the front of the dryer box. But you cannot print from the top or the rear. Well, there is a hole on the top, but it's not meant for filament. The hole on the top is actually meant to keep open so that you can let the steam escape when you heat your filament rolls. There is an integrated power supply built into this machine, so your power cord is very small and very compact. I approve. So all of that is good and dandy, but what does the dryer actually measure at when you set it at its max? Well, I measured 75 degrees Celsius at the heat source, and all throughout the chamber, I measured an average of 65 degrees Celsius. To me, that is very respectable, and also there's a chance that when you put more material in there, it will be able to better maintain 70 degrees Celsius. And lastly, the price of the SHO2 comes in at $59 US, plus or minus tax, I'm not quite sure. I would say for $59, that comes in at $30 per spool, assuming you're drying 2 at once. And to me, that is a very respectable price, especially seeing as the user input is really good. You get 9 filament profiles. Overall, I'm very happy with this box, and I would definitely recommend it. On to the next. This is a
massive resin 3D print.
And this thing, it's made of metal, but I did not 3D print these myself. And that is where PCBWay comes in. Actually, this isn't 3D printed either, but hold on. See, this is printed in nylon, and PCBWay printed it for me in tool steel, but I kind of misplaced it. Just get a hold of this room. So I kind of had to use this as a prop. But I digress. You see, PCBWay makes it very simple. You simply upload your model to their online database, and their engineers are going to professionally analyze the model to see if there's any printability issues. If they find an issue, they're going to email you with resolution options. The best thing is that PCBWay can handle a massive array of materials that most of us can't, like nylon, PEEK, aluminum, tool steel, anything like that, including a huge array of industrial resin materials. Well, you already have a 3D printer, that's why you're watching this channel, so you're probably thinking, why would I use this service? Well, I have an answer for you. Well, I got 2 words for you. Batch printing. That's gonna be a whole lot of damage. In all seriousness, guys, PCBWay is a seriously wonderful sponsor of the channel. They offer an incredible product that I use myself, and I highly recommend you guys check them out for yourself. Please check the link in the description below, and let's get back to the video. So with the Easy Dryer, you've got wonderful build quality. You've got the EIBOS name. It's easy. Anyone can use it. It's just a dial. But there is one big problem, and I'm gonna jump right to the problem up front, and that is that the Easy Dry, it cannot maintain the appropriate temperatures. I set this dial right here all the way to the right to PA, aka nylon. If you remember from the SHO2, I mentioned that nylon needs to be between 80 and 110 degrees Celsius in order to dry. And for some reason, I measured with this guy right here. I'm not claiming for this to be wonderful, but I measured with this guy a maximum of 50 degrees Celsius. In fact, 47 degrees Celsius was roughly the average that I think I was measuring. 47 degrees Celsius is barely enough to dry PLA. There's a problem. So I don't want to dwell on that for too long because besides that, I really do like this dryer. And if you only print with PLA and you never print with anything else, I still highly, highly recommend this dryer. Let me get into it. So maybe I have a fluke. And if that is true, you get 6 filament profiles. You get PLA, PETG, ABS, TPU, polycarbonate, and nylon. If I don't have a fluke, you get 6 wonderful colors and PLA. Hopefully you got that joke. If you didn't get the joke, ask in the comments, I'll tell you. Anyway, the dial is really easy, but what's interesting about the dial is I have no idea if it's timed. I don't know what temperatures it is supposed to be. It's just a dial. One thing that I do like about the EZ-Dry is that it has a disconnected hygrometer in order to tell you what the relative humidity levels are in the box. The reason I like that is because it uses 2 very, very, very tiny watch batteries that will probably never die. And if they do, they're watch batteries and they're very cheap. And when I replace them, those ones will probably never die. If I'm gonna be picky though, replacing those watch batteries could possibly be a little bit difficult. So let's hope that they in fact never die. So the design has a fully removable sidewall. It has a little string here, you pull it down and it detaches. This is a double wall door for heat retention and it does not have gaskets on it, which means this box is not airtight. Good, because if it was airtight, it wouldn't be able to dry filament. This latch mechanism feels really good. There's a tight spring in there. Operating the lid on this box feels very premium, like any other EIBOS product that I've used. So the EZ-Dry might actually be the quietest dryer that I've ever used, hopefully because it only reaches 47 degrees Celsius. However, I measured this in at about 40 dB. For me, ambient room volume is somewhere in the 32 to 37 dB volume. I honestly don't remember. Basically what I'm saying is this box is so quiet, if it is sitting at the desk with you as you're working, you will not know that it's on. The AC fan in my ceiling is louder than this box. And there is a very large fan on the back of it. I'm assuming it's just spinning very low and very slow, but for what it's worth. So of course this dryer is very narrow. It's not gonna fit a 3 kilogram spool, and it is also for 1 spool. So you get one 1 kilogram spool that can fit in here. One thing to note that there is a peg here in the middle. So if your spool has a very tiny hole, like maybe a 1/4 kilogram or a 1/2 kilogram spool, or some of the newest cardboard spools on the market, there is a chance that you won't actually be able to fit it inside this dryer. I'm not trying to scare you there, I just want to let that be known. I haven't had an issue with any plastic or cardboard spools, but if you're using one of the smaller spools, it definitely won't fit. If you're choosing to use this dryer box as a print from Drybox, it's very good because you have a hole to print from the back, the front, or the top. I don't understand why some dryers don't actually have more holes on their dry boxes because it's not that hard to put an additional hole. Again, one thing that I really like about this box is that it has an integrated power supply, so your power cable is not big and bulky. One thing that is really nice about the EZ-Dry is that this dryer box has only been out for a couple of months and it comes from a reputable manufacturer, which means a lot of people are going to purchase it. That in turn means there's going to be 3D printed upgrades that you can print for this box. Now, I did not dig through all of the possible upgrades that you can download from Printables or your favorite 3D model website. However, just me simply browsing Printables, I ran across models that people had already made for this dryer box. For instance, one of them was a mod that allowed you to just put it on top of the 3D printer, similar to the AMS Lite that Bamboo has. And if you're only printing PLA, this might actually be a very reasonable purchase for you. It's only $55 US. You get a really high quality box, something that's gonna last you for a very long time, and you can put it on top of your printer as you're printing to keep your PLA from getting wet as you're doing those very long prints. Guys, I definitely do not recommend this dryer box if you're printing any exotic materials. However, like I've mentioned a couple times, if you only print PLA, this might actually be one that you want to look at. On to the next! All right, on to the Sunlu E2. Guys, this dryer box, it comes in at $349 US. And I promise you, I pinky promise you, if you have $349 to spare, I know I don't, but if you do, this dryer box is really good. I am not being paid to say this. This is the single best dryer box that I have ever used, and there are almost no flaws with it whatsoever. In terms of software, it essentially replicates the software from the Sunlu S4, which adopted it from the Sunlu S2. Clearly, Sunlu has something going for them. Their software, their firmware, it is very intuitive. It's very easy. The screen is easy to use. It's easy to see what you're doing. There's a lot of preset filament profiles. Overall, it is very good. Out of every dryer box that I've used, it definitely has the best firmware, the best software, whatever. Obviously, the S4 and the S2 have the same software, and the SHO4 adopted one very similar for a very good reason. Honestly, the E2 is such a good dryer box, and there are so many things about it that I could talk about. I could probably do a full-length video on just this machine. However, I think if I did that, it would be 30 minutes and it would be a little bit of a snooze fest. So I'm gonna hit the hot topics, and the first one is that this machine boasts 110 degrees Celsius heat point. When I read that online, I absolutely did not believe that it was truthful. I didn't think that it was gonna be possible, but yes, it is very possible. This machine gets absolutely monstrously, incredibly hot. It gets so hot that if you touch the outside of it with your bare hands, it could actually, well, maybe not burn you, but it would be very hot. I definitely would not put this on its annealing mode while a baby was in the room, because you might burn a baby. Although I will say, if you put your hands on it, it doesn't scorch you, but it does get super duper hot.
I don't know what this is, but it's kind of hot.
I will say though, if you open the lid and then you touch something on the inside, it does get so hot that you absolutely will burn your hand. I used my $20 probe from Amazon to measure the temperatures here, and I measured anywhere from 96 degrees Celsius all the way to 121 degrees Celsius. Guys, even if this is uncalibrated and a couple degrees off, that is astronomically high. To be honest, I should have actually measured how much power this thing was pulling, but I didn't, and it's probably very high. So why does Sunlu actually give this a 110 degree heat point? Well, might you ask, it's because this box is designed to have an annealing mode. I am not one to regularly print polycarbonate and nylon. However, if you do print polycarbonate and/or nylon, you need to put it through a heat cycle for annealing. Honestly, I have no idea how people typically did that prior to this box, because you would have to have an annealing oven. Besides the high heat point, what else about this box makes it $349? Well, the first thing that I've noticed is the sheer build quality. This box is definitely better built than any box that I have ever had in the studio. First, when you open the lid, you feel that it has some kind of a tactile feedback. Well, that is the embedded magnets in the lip of the dryer box. There are 4 magnets in the lid, and they are very strong, and when you lift the lid, it feels like a high quality product, probably because it is a high quality product. Next, in terms of build quality, the whole unit appears to be a double walled machine. That includes the lid. Obviously, if you buy a Stanley mug, you wonder how it can hold ice for so long or keep your coffee hot for so long. Well, it being a double-walled machine, well, your Stanley mug is not a machine, but it being a double-walled mug is going to allow the heat to stay in. It's the same theory with this dry box. Like the Polyphemus Easy Dry, the lid is a double-walled lid, but for some reason, I don't know why they did that, because the rest of the box is a single pane of plastic. That is simply not the case with the E2, and I don't think that was even an option, because if you're trying to get to 110 degrees Celsius, you have to be able to maintain your temperature on the inside without it escaping. This being the E2 means it can hold 2 1 kilogram spools of filament. The way that it's designed, you should also be able to hold a single 3 kilogram spool. That being said, you do have the ability to print from the top and the sides for both 1 kilogram spools, but if you do put a 3 kilogram spool of filament in the E2, you're not going to be able to print from it because there's not a hole suitable for printing with a 3 kilogram spool. Like the other dryer boxes in this video, this machine also has an integrated power supply. Again, thumbs up to Sunlu. This video has been very good with integrated power supplies. What about volume? Well, you'd think if you're gonna try and reach 110 degrees Celsius, you're gonna have some drawbacks. Well, in fact, this machine only measures in at roughly 53 dB, so you could have this on the other half of the room and you could be writing a white paper at your computer desk and you'd probably be fine. This machine is definitely noticeably louder than the other 2 dry boxes on the table. However, it's well within limits for you to actually be in the same room and still doing work and not being pounded by noise. One thing I didn't mention about the SHO2, but it is the same for the E2, is that both of these dryers have room for a desiccant pouch, so whenever you go to dry your filament, you can put little desiccant in there to soak up the moisture. The SHO2 has 2 slots for desiccant and the E2 only has 1 slot for desiccant, but in either case it's better than 0. Guys, this box is very expensive and it is very difficult for me to recommend it to the average consumer. However, if you are already printing with these high engineering grade materials, this might very well be the best box for you to add to your arsenal. And I think that about does it for this video. I don't know how much I rambled, but I had a beer and I had to finish it, so hopefully not too much. And I guess that does it because I finished my drink. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions about these dryers, make sure to leave a comment in the comments down below. And on my channel, I have featured many other dryer boxes. If any of these aren't for you, I have a couple other videos. You can find them up there or somewhere. Otherwise, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Wait, one last thing. Guys, if any of these boxes interest you, please check the link in the description. I might have some coupon codes for you. I'm not sure. I'm gonna talk to the manufacturers and help you guys out.